You mentioned walking in New York, seeing PSG shirts, Real Madrid shirts, Mbappe shirts. We are in a moment where the industry of football has been trying to conquer the US for a long time. And I think they never really crack it. It's a different market. You know, US sport consumption is completely different to European one. But you have Messi, the first ever Clubs World Cup player in the US, the World Cup coming next year to the US. Personally, I believe that if football or soccer, as you call it here, doesn't crack the US market now, it's not going to happen. What do you think is missing? What football as an industry need to do to crack the US market, now that you are also advising a lot of franchises and international sport properties?
It's a great question, but I'll tell you, ever since I was in high school, I've heard that the next sport in the US is soccer. I've heard it pretty much my entire life. But that moment has yet to occur, to your point. What I will say, though, is when I'm around Gen Z, mentees, cousins, siblings, or just friends and family, I'm seeing that more kids are playing soccer, but the fandom is more distributed in soccer. I might have an MLS team. I might love a local team, but then I might have an English Premier League team. I might have a League One team. There are these soccer fans in the States love multiple teams. And a lot of that is driven by star power. A lot of it is driven by they love Dembele, they love Mbappe, they love Messi. And that star power oftentimes fuels fandom. But I think the biggest step for us will be deeper storytelling around these athletes. When you know who the athlete is, when you know their story, you develop a connection with them. And then you want to buy their jersey. And then you want to see them play. And I think there's been a gap in storytelling across the pond. I've been a big Premier League fan my whole life, and I think about one of my favorite players is Bukayo Saka, who I think is incredible. I can't tell you how many stories that I've actually read or consumed about him in the U.S., and he's a superstar, you know. The same can be said about other players across European football. So I think there's a responsibility that all of us have around storytelling, and you said athlete-led storytelling as well, because the closer we feel to these players, the more connection and the more it converts. That's one. Two, I just think that we need to see it more. You know, last year there were a series of friendlies across the summer in the United States, and there were sold-out arenas, sold-out stadiums. There's an appetite for global football in the U.S. We just don't get to touch it as much. And then I would say lastly, for whatever reason, I think the biggest domino that has yet to fall is U.S. dollars extending to global football, right? The big U.S. brands that spend a lot in sport may not necessarily spend a lot in the Premier League. And that's what drives a lot of conversion, right? If you can get a big brand anchor, it's easier to tell a global story. PSG and Jordan, it's a great example. Once they got that Jordan brand, it started to feel more endemic to the U.S., and which is why you'll see the jerseys around. So I think there's a gap that exists on the sponsorship side, and we've seen clubs have a sponsorship lead in the U.S. and the rest of the team is in London or Paris, and there's no real cohesion. There's no real connectivity. If you're a lone ranger as an extension of a European team in New York or L.A., you're not really living it, right? And I haven't seen many examples of that being successful. So teams are still trying to figure out what a clear and smart extension of themselves looks like in the U.S. And I don't think there's going to be one answer to that. But if you're you know a global sports brand and you want to break through the U.S., you have to be here. You have to be here, and you have to understand what that looks and feels like. So we're trying to help teams think through that right now. Do you have an office here? Do you have a resource here? Do you come on a recurring basis? Do you have a storefront here? How do you continue to galvanize people in the U.S.? But I think the biggest gap is brand spend. And when teams can kind of crack that brand code, I think the dollars come, the storytelling comes, and then you get a bigger story. So to your point, 2026, man, that's really going to be a telling year for all of us. Yeah. And I think we'll have a good story. I think one of the bigger things that we'll need to think about is, and we may have talked about this earlier, 2026 can't be a blip. It can't be a blur. It needs to create a foundation of sustained momentum. Yeah. If 2026 comes and goes, then we're cooked. It's done. But if 2026 serves as the foundation for sustained global football fandom, then we've done what we're supposed to do. Time will tell, though.
Yeah, it's about increasing the touch point with the local fan base,
That's
build
right.
those stories. And one thing that I was thinking while you were talking, and I thought it was very interesting, is that European clubs come to the US typically on summer tours, doing friendly games, but it feels a little bit like everything like a promotional event. And even if it's a promotional event, the arenas are sold out and the appetite is there. There was a huge debate in Spain because LaLiga wanted to bring an official match for the first time to the US, to Miami. We're seeing NFL, NBA doing that with Europe, but it looks like the historic foundation of the European football is not allowing, or the historic statements are not allowing the leagues to do that. Do you think that bringing regular official matches will help crack the US market?
The US is such a sports-obsessed market, and we care about games that matter. Friendlies are cool to buy a jersey at and take a picture at, but the games don't matter. They don't really matter. I, as a U.S. sports fan, I've seen NFL games outside of the U.S., in London. Yeah. In Germany, in Mexico City. I've seen NBA games in Tokyo, in Paris, in Abu Dhabi, in London. I've traveled to see these matches because they're regular season matches that mean something. You know, there was a match that the San Antonio Spurs had when the NBA went to Paris, and they all went to the PSG Manchester City match, and it was a beautiful moment. The games have to matter. I truly believe if the games matter and there's more frequency, that it'll start to develop a bit more connectivity. Right now, it just feels disconnected because it's summertime, a few friendly matches, and they go back and then you watch it on television. So there's something to be said for that, which is a lot of the reason why U.S. leagues are starting to really be bullish in having matches outside of the U.S. And those matches are packed. Those NFL matches are packed. Those NBA matches are packed.
NFL is coming to Madrid next year.
It's going to be nuts. Yeah. The Commanders, I'm coming. I should talk to you about that. I might need a place to stay. So
okay, you can stay at my place. Don't worry. You have your home in Madrid.
Perfect.
But yeah, it's something that definitely the European sport needs to think about more if they really need to commit if we want to crack the US.
Yeah. I think that at the very least, it unlocks a significant sponsorship discussion. And I think opportunities arise from discussions. You have a conversation, they experience, we're going to go on Sunday and there are going to be so many brands there. When brands experience the magic of the beautiful game, that unlocks the budget, man. But they have to be able to touch it and feel it and experience it. Otherwise, they're just watching it on television and social. Yeah. It doesn't feel the same.
It doesn't feel the same. We're in an industry that sells emotion.
That's right.
That brings emotion to life, and that's the biggest power that we have as an industry.
For sure.